Bitcoin miners tackle the wild realm of crypto power hunting. Where they set up shop is critical in an industry that values decentralization, independence, and other energy-consuming sectors. Hundreds of depressed Bitcoin miners crammed into a luxurious hotel in western China one weekend in late June. They faced a major challenge. The Chinese government had just prohibited cryptocurrency mining due to concerns about illegal coal mining and underlying financial dangers. They now had to figure out how to get millions of computers out of the country. The miners sat in rows of white chairs in a hall at the Grand Melia Chengdu Hotel, listening carefully to officials from Bitmain Technologies, the world's largest mining equipment manufacturer. In between talks about Texas energy fundamentals and crypto mining in Kazakhstan, guests dined on cupcakes, sipped cocktails, and lamented the bleak prospects for their local industry. Employees at Bitmain offered to act as matchmakers, connecting miners with data centers in the United States, Central Asia, and Europe. They also warned that an unregulated rush into new markets would raise expenses for all of them. One of the slides shown at the event was, "Hold together for warmth, say no to vicious competition." The gravity of the issue became clear only a few hours after the session. Alex, a Chinese miner who did not want his last name published for fear of retaliation from the authorities, was out singing karaoke with some of his fellow miners when he called to check in on his machines in the mountains outside Chengdu. His colleague informed him that local authorities had just turned off the power to his facility, leaving the mine silent and potentially worthless. "All my money is gone," he cursed as he chugged a drink. "I'm losing money every day because I don't run those machines." Chinese miners forced to leave behind the country's inexpensive electricity generated by abundant coal and roaring rivers have found themselves propelled into a wild and extreme world of crypto power hunting. Miners scurried to gold fields in California and Alaska over a century ago, and Bitcoin miners are now scurrying to whatever source of cheap, dependable electricity they can find. Their future destinations are critical to an industry that values decentralization and independence, as well as to other energy-consuming industries with which they compete for access to greener power. Cheaper energy. Of course, a Bitcoin mining setup does not extract anything from the earth. Instead, it is frequently made up of thousands of machines that have been expressly developed to conduct the intricate calculations that keep the cryptocurrency's network running. These computers are stacked on racks in warehouses, frequently with massive water cooling fans. In China, warehouses are typically located near their power sources, such as standalone hydropower stations and thermal plants linked with coal mines. According to Tyler Page, Chief Executive Officer of Cipher Mining Technologies, electricity accounts for roughly 80% of a miner's operating costs. Miners that perform the computations are rewarded with fresh Bitcoin, which has swung in value from about $65,000 before China banned mining to around $33,500 today. According to the most recent data from the University of Cambridge, China accounted for approximately 65% of global Bitcoin mining in April of last year. Cheaper power is one of the reasons China's neighbor, Kazakhstan, has become a popular destination for fleeing miners. The former Soviet country has more than 22 gigawatts of electric power capacity, the majority of which is generated by coal and gas-fired power plants. It also borders the Xinjiang area, which formerly accounted for approximately 36% of the world's Bitcoin mining. According to Dmitry Ivanov, sales director of Almaty-based Enagix, Bitcoin miners may receive electricity for as little as 3 US cents per kilowatt-hour. The country is also cool enough that data centers do not need air conditioning to keep from overheating, which can add up to 30% additional power use. Enagix operates a server hosting business in Kazakhstan, where it is constructing data centers where miners can pay a fee to plug in their equipment. At the end of last year, the business erected its largest facility yet, a 180 megawatts data center on 37 acres, 15 hectares, of land near the northeastern town of Ikebastus. The region is an industrial center, powered by one of the world's largest coal-fired power plants outside of China. In June, Mr. Ivanov began receiving daily communications from miners in Sichuan and Inner Mongolia who needed to evacuate due to Beijing's crackdown. "We stand to benefit from it, but these folks face severe losses in terms of all the infrastructure that must be deployed elsewhere," he said. Enagix's clients will soon be flying 10,000 mining computers to Kazakhstan, a mix of Bitmain's S19 Pro and Chinese company MicroBT's WhatsMiner M21S model. Land transport from China would be less expensive, but trucks sometimes get stuck at the border for weeks. Spending that time mining Bitcoin instead could pay for the increased cost of travel. Didar Beekborf operates another Almaty-based Bitcoin mining hosting company, Enagix. Messages flooded in on him as well. "So many Chinese are contacting us and asking for assistance in relocating the equipment," he explained. "They beg every Kazakh they know to provide them with power." However, Kazakhstan's potential has a limit. According to Bloomberg Neft data, the country's electric grid has acquired just over 3 gigawatts of capacity in the last 20 years. This leaves little room for the spike in mining devices to connect. Mr. Beekborf now has to turn consumers away, saying, "Every spare kilowatt is already booked." Renewable resources. For some miners, the option to leave China is also an opportunity to clean up their power supply. It is impossible to say how dirty Bitcoin mining is in general, but it is a reflection of the power supply to a mine's location. Earlier this year, the official Xinhua news agency claimed that tens of thousands of mining machines utilized approximately 45 million kilowatt-hour of power every month in a region of western China reliant on coal-burning power plants. That equates to around 15,000 tons of ordinary coal. Globally, mining machines utilize roughly the same amount of power as the entire country of Bangladesh, which has a population of more than 160 million people. While part of that power is renewable, the vast majority of the world's electricity is still generated by the combustion of fossil fuels. To counter objections, a group of companies formed the Crypto Climate Accord earlier this year, promising to assist the industry in transitioning to 100% renewable energy use. Crypto miners are competing with a much larger push to decarbonize power in order to prevent climate change. According to the International Energy Agency, the share of energy from renewable sources would need to climb to around two-thirds of supply by 2050, up from around 12% in 2020, to keep temperatures from increasing more than 1.5 degrees Celsius beyond pre-industrial levels. Countries around the world, including China, the United States, and the European Union, will need to ramp up construction of wind farms and solar parks to come close to meeting their commitments. Renewable energy sources such as wind and sunlight may be abundant at times, but demand for them is expected to increase as autos, home heating, and heavy industries progressively move to electricity. The Nordic region, which has long been a favorite Bitcoin mining location due to its abundant hydropower, began running out of excess electricity earlier this year as industrial customers cranked up production. "There is a more noble use of renewable energy than Bitcoin mining," said Peter Wall, CEO of the London-listed mining business Argo Blockchain. "But the fact remains that individuals will mine Bitcoin indefinitely. It's not going away." Regulatory issues. Miners also want to know that they will not wake up one morning to find out that their industry has been outlawed once more. Bit Digital, a Nasdaq-listed mining company, began relocating some of its 30,000 machines in China to North America last October. By the time Beijing cracked down, Bit Digital had been able to continue mining with as little disruption as possible. Even inside the United States, regulatory variances exist between states. Cipher Mining Technologies, the U.S. subsidiary of the Netherlands-based Bitfury Holding, is trying to increase mining capacity in Texas, the only state with a deregulated power system, and Ohio due to the state's low power prices and low carbon power sources. A state like New York, where politicians earlier proposed a bill that would have prohibited crypto mining in the state, is not as appealing. The physical characteristics of a location are also important. Extreme temperatures in either direction, as well as a too dry and gritty atmosphere, are undesirable. The dust literally blows into the computers, and you have physical problems, said Cypher's Mr. Page. Some of BitDigital's mining rigs were delivered to a data center in Kearney, Nebraska, where the business already has roughly 5,000 machines mining Bitcoin. "You can't hear a single thing in here," shouted CEO Brian Bullitt during a recent tour of the facility as the machine's fans swirled his hair about. BitDigital's displaced Chinese rigs are stored in a facility a mile away from the data center. The machines were stacked to the roof on wooden pallets, waiting for an opening so they could be put to use. "It's not wonderful to have them sitting here in boxes when they might be plugged in and earning money," Mr. Bullitt remarked. He predicted that as a result of the crackdown, 500,000 mining machines are being exported out of China. BitDigital is thinking about expanding outside of North America, but local legislation and stability are a problem. El Salvador's president declared last month that his country will be the first to accept Bitcoin as legal cash, and he urged the state-run geothermal energy utility to devise a plan for volcano-powered Bitcoin mining. Mr. Bullitt and other BitDigital executives traveled to Central America late last month for 2 days of discussions with the president's cabinet. Other countries' Bitcoin miners want to know if El Salvador's enthusiasm for the digital currency will survive a change in leadership. The question of stability will naturally arise, Mr. Bullitt added, especially in a capital-intensive business like mining. When asked if he would send BitDigital's machines to a facility being built in El Salvador, the CEO paused. "It all depends on the details," he explained. "It's absolutely worth keeping an eye on." Aside from the giant mining businesses established in the United States, there are also smaller middlemen profiting from the massive migration. Tim Kelly, the chief executive officer of BitUda, has hardly slept since the news of China's crackdown first came in late May. He founded BitUda in 2017 to provide Bitcoin mining clients with research, investment banking, and other services. Mr. Kelly spent most evenings this summer on the phone with Chinese miners from his beachfront house on the island of Nantucket, off the coast of Massachusetts. As soon as the sun dawned, he began calling persons in the United States who could provide sites with enough electricity to host mining operations. "There's such a sense of sheer desperation to obtain sites as soon as possible," he remarked. While China's limitations are currently strangling the Bitcoin mining business, the suffering will only be temporary. With increased capacity in places like the United States, BitUda predicts that the amount of processing power needed for mining will be back to pre-crackdown levels by early 2023 and will continue to rise for the rest of the decade. BitUda's business had been continuously growing. By May of this year, the business had established a pipeline of less than 500 megawatts of grid connections for Bitcoin miners seeking to connect to American power. Mr. Kelly's restless nights aided the figure's rise to almost 2,000 megawatts of transactions in the works, with roughly 70% going to Chinese clients. It is not easy to start a Bitcoin mining operation out of thin air. Mr. Kelly's clients require not only power, but also substations and transformers, which filter the high-powered volts in the electrical grid so that they do not damage all those valuable computers. It takes time to set up all of the apparatus, which can take up to 18 months in some situations. The majority of them have already made down payments on new devices and are looking for a new address in a friendly neighborhood. This time, they want to be certain that the sites will stand the test of time. For many, this means attempting to connect to renewable energy sources, which the Biden administration has indicated would be the future of the American electric grid. Chinese customers are even willing to pay a premium for green credentials. We hope you enjoyed watching and listening to this video. Please let us know your opinion in the comments area below. If you found our content useful, please like it and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for more crypto-related contents.